Treasure Island, Chapter 7. Jim Hawkins. I walked with Ben Gunn and we soon saw the fort. "Your friends will be inside, Jim," said Ben. "It might be the pirates," I replied. "No, look at the flag. They will be good men," he answered. The fort was made by Flint. He was a clever man and he wasn't frightened of anyone, except Silver. "Let's go inside," I said. "I can't go in there," Gunn replied. "I don't trust anyone. I'll wait for you. Remember what I told you. I can help you. Come and find me tomorrow." Before I could go to the fort, there was the sound of more gunfire and I had to hide, so I wouldn't be hit. From the trees where I waited, I could now see the Hispaniola. It was also flying a flag, but it was the Black Pirates' flag. When it was nearly dark, I walked round to the back of the fort and called out. The door opened, and Dr. Livesey let me inside. I sat down and told them my story. The wind blew sand inside the fort and we found it everywhere, in our clothes, in our food, and in our eyes. There was a fire to keep us warm, but the room was also full of smoke and we all coughed. Captain Smollett gave us all jobs, some looked for firewood, others went to cook food, and I was asked to guard the door. He kept us all busy, and that made us all feel better. "Captain Smollett is a good man," said Dr. Livesey later that day. "And what about Ben Gunn? Is he a good man?" "I don't know," I answered. "I think he's a little crazy." "Any man on an island for 3 years will be a bit crazy," explained the doctor. "Did you say that he wanted some good food?" "Yes," I replied. "I've brought some cheese with me on this journey. Let's give it to Ben Gunn," said the doctor. That evening, the men talked about how little food we had. We hoped that the pirates would leave the island with the Hispaniola. The doctor said that they would become ill if they slept outside on the island for long. And if the pirates left, we could wait until help arrived. I slept very well that night. The next morning, a voice woke me up. I heard someone say, "Some pirates are coming to the fort with a white flag. Look. It's Silver. He wants a truce." I got up and looked from the fort. It was a cold morning, and although it was sunny, there was a low mist. We could only see the head of Silver and another pirate. "Stay in the fort," said Captain Smollett. "I'm sure that this is a trick." Then he called out to Silver, "Tell us what you want." "I want a truce," said Silver. Captain Smollett quietly told us to move to different corners of the fort and to watch Silver carefully. Then he called to Silver, "What do you want us to do?" "Come to my ship and we can talk about how to get home," said Silver. "Your ship? I didn't know you had a ship here," replied Captain Smollett. "Well, the crew chose me to be their captain after you left the ship," said Silver. "If you have something to say, you can come into the fort and say it," said Captain Smollett. The other pirate tried to stop Silver, but he laughed and walked quickly towards the fort. He climbed over one of the fences and walked slowly up the hill. Soon he was standing in front of Captain Smollett, who was waiting for him outside the door to the fort. "Can't I come inside?" asked Silver. "It's a cold morning." "If you were an honest man, You could come inside, said Captain Smollett. But are you my ship's cook, who I looked after, or Captain Silver, a pirate? Okay, we can stay here, said Silver, sitting down on the sand. You've got a nice place here. Look, there's Jim. Good morning. If you have anything to say it now, said Captain Smollett. Captain, we want the treasure, and we're going to find it. However, I think you all want to leave the island safely. You have the map, don't you? Asked Silver. Perhaps, said Captain Smollett. I know you have it, said Silver. We don't want to hurt you. Give us the map and then we will take you home on the ship. We'll take you somewhere safe. Or, if you 3. prefer, we'll leave you some supplies and you can stay on the island. Then we can ask another ship to come and take you home. It's a kind offer, and I hope you all want to take it. He said this last part loudly, so that we could all hear in the fort. Is that all you can offer? Said Captain Smollett. It is, and if you don't accept my offer, all you will hear from me is the sound of guns. Now you can listen to me, replied Captain Smollett. If you come up to the fort one by one, without any guns, I'll put you all in chains and take you back to England for trial. If you don't, you'll have problems. You can't find the treasure. You don't have enough men to sail the ship, and you can't fight us here in the fort. Silver looked very angry. This will not end well for any of you, he said, and then he walked slowly back down the hill. Captain Smollett came back into the fort and said to us, he'll be back in an hour to attack us. There are more of them than us, but we have the advantage inside the fort, and I am sure that we can win. Treasure Island, Chapter 8. Jim Hawkins. We prepared our weapons and the captain told us what to do. Doctor, you stay by the door. Hunter, stay at the east of the fort. Joyce can stand at the west. Gray and Trelawney will stay at the north. If the pirates get inside the north of the fort, we're in trouble. After an hour, Joyce said that he saw someone coming. We all looked and listened. And we got our weapons ready. Suddenly, Joyce fired his gun. Then, we heard guns firing at us from all sides of the fort. There was a lot of noise and smoke, but nobody was hurt. Then everything went quiet again. Did you hit anyone? The captain asked Joyce. I don't think so, he replied. How many people fired on your side, Doctor? Asked Captain Smollett. There were 3, he replied. How many on your side, Trelawney? Trelawney and Gray were not sure. They thought 7, 8, or 9. There was only one shot fired from the east and west. So, we knew that the pirates wanted to attack mostly from the north. But Captain Smollett told us to stay where we were. We didn't have much time to talk. A group of pirates ran from the trees towards the north of the fort, and their guns started firing again. Some of the pirates tried to climb the fence, but Joyce shot 2 of them and 1 ran back to the trees. However, 4 were now inside the fences and 7 more continued to fire at us from the trees. Our men fired at the 4 pirates, but did not hit them. They were now running up the hill to the fort, and one of them climbed up and took Hunter's gun. Another ran in through the door, where the doctor killed him. Captain Smollett then told us to go to the other side of the fort. I ran there quickly, and suddenly found one of the pirates, Anderson, in front of me. He was going to attack me with his sword, but Gray saw him and killed him before I was hurt. At the same time, the pirates inside the fences were killed by our guns. I was safe, but others were not. Poor Joyce and Hunter were dead and Captain Smollett was hurt. "Have the pirates gone?" asked Captain Smollett weakly. "Some of them have gone," said Dr. Livesey. "But 5 of them will never walk again." "That's good," said Captain Smollett. "There are fewer pirates for us to fight." "I know that we can win." The pirates did not return that day, so we had time to eat and look after the people who were hurt. Dr. Livesey said that Captain Smollett would get better, but he should not walk or even talk if he didn't need to. In the early afternoon, Dr. Livesey took his hat and a gun, then he put the map in his pocket and left the fort. "What is he doing?" asked Gray when we saw him walk into the trees. "Is he crazy?" "The doctor has a plan," I said. "I think he's going to visit Ben Gunn." That afternoon, I thought about where the doctor was. I remembered how good it felt to walk through the trees and on the beach. It was much nicer than staying inside the hot fort. I decided to take some biscuits and a gun. I wanted to go down to the rocks where Ben Gunn said there was a boat. When nobody was looking, I quietly left the fort. I walked quickly towards the east of the island. It was now late afternoon, but the sun was still high. As I went nearer to the coast, the wind became stronger and it wasn't as hot. Soon I could see the big waves of the blue sea, and then I walked down the beach, feeling happy. At the end of the beach I climbed a hill. I could see the Hispaniola, with the pirate flag flying in the wind. And I could see Silver in one of the small boats, talking to his men. I could not hear what they said, although I could hear the cry of the parrot. "Captain Flint." The sun was going down and soon there was a mist. I knew that I needed to be quick and find the boat that evening. It took me a long time to walk to the white rock where Ben Gunn said his boat was. It was nearly dark when I finally found it inside a tent made of animal skins. It was badly made from old wood and it was very small. Although I thought that it would be very fast on water. Now I had my own plan. I thought that I could go the Hispaniola in the night and cut the rope to the anchor. So, I ate my biscuits while I waited for it to become dark. When I stood up later, there was mist everywhere. I picked up the boat and carried it to the beach. In the darkness, I could just see a fire where the pirates were sleeping in the trees, and another distant light from the Hispaniola. I put the small boat into the water, and began my journey to the ship. I found that the boat was very difficult to steer, but the wind helped me to get to the Hispaniola. Soon, I was next to the big ship and I began cutting the thick anchor rope. I could now hear some of the pirates talking on the ship. One of the men was called Hans, but I did not know the other man. They both seemed angry. The rope finally broke, and I moved away from the ship. As I was leaving, I saw a light in one of the windows where the sailors were talking. I don't know why, but I decided to look into the window. I saw that Hans and the other pirate were fighting each other. I sat down in the boat, but I realized that the wind was taking me quickly out to sea. Now it no longer had the anchor rope, the wind was moving the Hispaniola, too. The wind took my boat into large waves. I closed my eyes and waited for a terrible end, dreaming of my home and the Admiral Benbow. The next thing I knew, it was light and I found myself in the boat on the southwest end of Treasure Island. The sun was up, but I couldn't see it because of the high cliffs. On this side of the island, there were big waves hitting the rocks below, and it would be impossible for me to take the boat to the shore. I remembered that on the map, there was a place called Cape of Woods. This was a place of tall trees and it also had a beach. I would try to get there. The boat sailed well, but when I tried to steer it, the boat hit the waves and I was soon completely wet. I realized, however, that if I lay down in the boat, it found its way through the waves on its own. I used a paddle to steer the boat a little, and it moved very slowly towards the Cape of Woods. Treasure Island, Chapter 9. Jim Hawkins. It was very hot and I was thirsty. The trees were near now, but before I could feel happy, I saw the Hispaniola sailing around. I was so thirsty that I did not know whether I would be happy or sad if the pirates found me. I watched the Hispaniola and saw that it went east, then west, then stopped. Then it did the same again and again. Nobody was sailing it. But where were the men? I thought if I could get onto the ship, I could return it to Captain Smollett. I started to paddle the boat, sometimes hitting waves, but slowly getting closer to the ship. As I got nearer, I saw nobody on the ship. It was so close that I could almost touch it. Suddenly, the wind changed and the ship was almost on top of me. I held onto a rope at the side of the ship just before it hit my little boat, which went under the waves. So, I found myself on the Hispaniola, with no other boat to save me. I climbed up onto the deck, which seemed empty. The wind blew and the sails moved to the right, and then I saw them, Hans and the man he was fighting. I thought they were both dead, but then Hans said weakly, "Water." I went downstairs. The pirates had broken all the cupboard doors when they were looking for the map, and the floor was dirty with sand and mud from the island. I found some water and some food, which I put in my bag, and I went back to give the water to Hans. He drank all of it, very quickly. "Are you hurt?" I asked him. With a doctor, I'll be fine, he said. And where have you been? Well, I've decided to take the ship, so you must now call me Captain, I said. He looked at me angrily, but he also looked very ill. Also, Mr. Hans, we can't have this flag on the ship, I said, and then I went to take down the black pirate flag. Hans looked at me, and then said, "You'll want to go to the island, won't you, Captain Hawkins? Let's talk." "That's a good idea," I agreed. "I don't think you can sail this ship," Hans said. "So if you give me food and drink, and help me with my wound, I'll help you." "Okay," I said, "but I'm not going back to where the ship was before." "We're going to the north of the island." "The north?" he asked. "Of course, I'll sail the ship wherever you want to go." So, I agreed to help him. I found a bandage to put on his wound, and I also gave him some food and some more water. He soon looked better. He told me how to sail the ship. It moved quickly along the coast of Treasure Island. And soon we could see the rocky north of the island. I felt good. I had water and food. The only thing that worried me was Hans. He looked at me all the time, and I knew that he was planning something. We arrived near the north of the island, and Hans told me how to stop the ship without an anchor. Then we sat down to eat. "Could you go downstairs and get me some more water?" he asked. I did not think for a minute that Hans was an honest man. He wanted me to leave the deck for a reason, but I did not know what this was. However, I also knew that Hans was not a clever man, so I agreed to go. I went downstairs, made a lot of noise, then took off my shoes and went quietly to another part of the ship, where I could see him. He was moving slowly and painfully across the deck, where he picked up a knife. He then hid the knife in his jacket and sat down where he was. Now I knew that he could move, that he had a weapon, and that he planned to hurt me. I did not know what he planned to do after that, but I knew that he could not hurt me until the ship stopped in a safe place near the island. I went back downstairs, put on my shoes and returned with a bottle of water. Hans was sitting quietly, and took the bottle without saying thank you. Then he said, "Look, the wind has changed. If we move the ship now, we'll be safe." We had only 2 miles to go to the shore. It was difficult to get to the correct place on the coast, but Hans told me what to do. This part of the island was full of trees, and we could see the wreck of an old ship lying on a flat beach. "We can stop there, on the beach," said Hans. I steered the ship slowly onto the beach, where it stopped with a low noise. I was so excited to arrive back at the island that I forgot to watch Hans. I suddenly turned round, and there he was, standing with a knife in his hand. I cried out and he jumped at me. I moved quickly to one side and he fell on the deck. Before he could stand up again, I took a gun from my jacket. However, the gun was wet from my journey and it did not work. I was very angry with myself. I was surprised at how fast he could move with the wound in his leg. As he ran towards me, I got ready to run away from him again, and he stopped. I remembered a game that I used to play with my friends in Black Hill Cove when one of us would try to catch the other. I was always good at this game and I thought that I could easily run away from this older pirate with a bad leg. At that moment, a wave hit the Hispaniola. When the ship moved, we both fell over. And I nearly fell onto Hans. Before he could stand, I decided to climb up the mast of the ship. Up in the sails, I had time to repair my gun and soon it would be ready to fire again. Hans looked up at me and saw my plan. He, too, started to climb the sails, but he could only climb slowly because of his bad leg. Before he was near me, I had the gun ready. If you come any closer, Mr. Hans, you will be dead. He stopped and I could see he was thinking about what he could do. You're clever, Jim Hawkins, he said. You've won. I started to laugh, thinking I was clever, when suddenly he threw something at me. His knife flew through. I was so surprised that, without knowing how, my gun fired. Hans gave a cry and fell down into the sea. I never saw him again. The knife passed through my shoulder into the wood of the mast, so I could not move. It hurt badly. It took a long time before I could think. When I finally looked at the knife, I saw that it only went through a small piece of skin. It was not difficult to take out. I climbed back to the deck and found a bandage for my wound. I was now alone on the ship and it was nearly dark. I quickly took down all the sails I could reach and then jumped down into the shallow water. I walked onto the sand, leaving the Hispaniola half on the beach and half in the water. Test yourself. Treasure Island, Chapter 10. Jim Hawkins. At last, I was back on the island. The ship was safe from the pirates, ready for our men to go back to sea. I looked forward to telling my friends about my latest adventure and started to walk back across the island. I remembered the map, so I knew how to return to the place where I had met Ben Gunn for the first time. As I continued, it was very dark. It was difficult for me to find my way, but the light of the moon helped me. When I was near the fort, I went more slowly. I did not want my friends to think I was a pirate. Suddenly, I saw a red light through trees. What was it? Then I saw that there was a big fire next to the fort. I thought that this was unusual, as Captain Smollett was always very careful not to waste wood for the fire. I quietly went back inside the dark fort, and I was very pleased to hear the men inside talking quietly. However, I realized that they were not good guards because nobody saw me return. I was about to climb into my bed when I heard the words, "Who is it? Who is it?" I realized that it was Captain Flint, Silver's parrot. Everyone in the room woke up, and I heard someone call out, "Who's there?" It was Long John Silver. I turned to run away but I ran into a man, who held on to me. I was trapped. Bring a torch, Dick, said Silver. When he returned with a torch, I could see inside the room. I realized that the fort was now full of pirates. Our food was on the table, too, but I could not see any of my friends. Was it possible that they were all dead? There were 5 pirates standing in the room. Another pirate lay in bed. He looked badly hurt. Silver looked tired. His parrot was on his shoulder, and his clothes were dirty. So, Jim Hawkins, said Silver. It's nice of you to visit us. You don't have to stand up for Jim, he told his men, and they lay down on their beds again. I knew you were clever, Silver said to me. I always wanted you to be one of us. Because I was like you when I was a boy. Now, you can't go back to your friends. Because they think you've left them. So, unless you want to stay on your own, you'll have to join us now. I was pleased to hear that my friends were still alive, but I was not happy to hear that they did not want me anymore. Now, you don't have to say yes, said Silver. I can't tell you what to do. I'll answer you, I said, in a weak voice. First, I want to know where my friends are. Yesterday morning, explained Silver, Dr. Livesey came down with a white flag. He told me that the Hispaniola was not there anymore. We looked round and he was right. The ship was gone. Then the doctor said that we could have the fort. I asked him how many of them were in the fort, and he said there were 4, and one of them was hurt. And he said he did not know or care where you were. So here we are. I don't know where they are now. Do I have to decide now? I asked. Yes, you have to decide now, said Silver. Very well. But there are some things you need to know. First, you have lost your ship, you have lost your treasure, and you have lost many of your men. How did you lose them? It was me. I heard your plans on the Hispaniola and told Captain Smollett. And I cut the anchor ropes of the ship, and took it to a place that you don't know. I'm not frightened of you. You can kill me if you want, but remember, if you don't kill me, I'll help you at your trial. So, now you have to decide. What will you do with me? I stopped talking and all the men looked at me angrily. That was the boy who knew Black Dog in Bristol, said one of the pirates called Morgan. And he was the boy who got the map from Billy Bones. Morgan then stood up with a knife. Stop, called Silver. Do you think that you're the captain now? You do as I say. Morgan and the other pirates were quiet. I like this boy, Silver continued. I've never seen a better boy than him. He's more of a man than any of you. The other pirates did not look happy and they started to talk quietly to each other. What are you saying? Said Silver. We don't like all of your rules, said one of the pirates. We're going to talk together without you. You can't stop us. Soon, all the men left the room, and only Silver and I remained. Listen, Jim, said Silver. I don't think that they want me to be the captain anymore. But I can look after you, if you look after me. Do you mean that they want to kill you? They don't need me now that I don't have the ship. But if you save me, I can save you. I was surprised to hear this. He was the leader of the gang of pirates, and now he wanted the help of a boy. I'll do what I can, I told him. You're a good boy, he said. I know you've got the ship safe somewhere. I don't know how you did it, but you did. Remember, I'm now with Mr. Trelawney and his men. So, why did the doctor give me the map, Jim? He saw that I was surprised. Yes, he gave it to me. He must have a plan, you know. Let's hope it's a good one. I looked out of the fort and saw the pirates talking in a group. One of the men had some paper and a knife and the others were watching him. Then they started to walk back towards us. They're coming, I told Silver. Let them come, he said. Treasure Island, Chapter 11. Jim Hawkins. The pirates walked in through the door. One of the men was holding a piece of paper, and he nervously walked forward to give it to Silver. Silver, read it. So, I'm not the captain now, is that it? He said. Can I have the torch? For a minute, so I can read it better. Don't try your tricks on us, said one of the pirates, called George. I'm still the captain until you tell me why I shouldn't be, said Silver. We can tell you, said George. First, your plans haven't worked. Second, you let Trelawney and his men leave the fort, and we're sure that they have a plan. Third, you wouldn't let us follow them. And fourth, there's the boy. Is that all? Asked Silver. That's enough, isn't it? Said George. I'll answer each reason, said Silver. First, who didn't do what I asked them to do? Anderson, Hans, and you, George. If we are arrested when we return to England, it is because of those people. Second, we have a doctor on the island. He's important, because some of us are very ill at the moment. The doctor and I came to an agreement so that he would help us. And the boy, he'll be useful if we need to negotiate. And what about reason 3? Well, this is why we didn't follow them. He continued, and showed them the treasure map. I was very surprised and I did not understand why the doctor had given the map to him. The pirates, however, looked at it with wonder. That's Flint's map, said George. But how are we to take his treasure home if we don't have a ship? Listen, George, said Silver. You lost my boat, but I can FND the treasure. So, who should be captain now? Silver's right, said Morgan, and the other pirates agreed. Silver was still the captain. The pirates now seemed happy, except for George. Silver made him guard the fort all night while the other men laughed and sang. I lay down and thought about Silver. I understood that he was very clever. He knew how to be friends with all the pirates, at the same time as only thinking about himself. He would do and say anything to stay safe. The next morning, a voice woke us all up, and I mean all of us, even George, the guard. It was Dr. Livesey calling us. I was very happy to hear him, but also worried. I had left my friends and now I was with Silver's gang. What would Dr. Livesey think? "Good morning, Doctor," said Silver. "Come in. George will open the door for you. We've got a surprise for you, too." "Do you mean Jim?" asked Dr. Livesey. He looked surprised as he came near us. "That's right," said Silver. The doctor did not speak for some time. Then he said, "Let me see your patients." He walked into the fort and, with a small nod to me, walked up to the ill pirates. He talked to them as if they were any English patient, although he knew they were all dangerous men. "I hope you took your medicine," he said to George. "Yes, sir, I did," he replied. "Good, because now I'm a pirate's doctor, I want to keep you all healthy so we can get you back to England for trial," he said. The pirates looked at each other but they said nothing. "Dick doesn't feel well," said Morgan. "Let me look at you," the doctor replied. "Yes, you have malaria. That's what happens when you sleep outside on an island like this." I'm surprised that a clever man like Silver didn't realize. He gave Dick some medicine, then said, "Now I'd like to talk to the boy, please." "No," said George. "Be quiet," shouted Silver. "Doctor, you've been kind to help us with our medicine. So you can talk to the boy. But first he must promise not to run away." I agreed. "Good. Now you can go outside, Doctor, and you can talk to the boy through the window." "He can stay inside," said Silver. When the doctor went outside, the other pirates told Silver that they were not happy that the doctor could talk to me. Silver reminded them they did not know where the treasure was yet. They needed my help, and perhaps the doctor's help as well, until the time was right. Silver took me to a window where I could talk to the doctor. When he knew the pirates could not hear, he spoke to the doctor, but he sounded different. "Tell the others that I helped you, Doctor," he said. "The boy will tell you how I saved him, too. If you help me, you will also help the boy stay safe." "I think you're frightened," said Dr. Livesey. "I'm not frightened," said Silver, "but I know you're a good man and you'll see the good in me. Now I'll let you and Jim talk." Silver walked away and sat down, where he could not hear us. "Jim, what happened? Why did you leave us when we needed you?" the doctor asked. Me. I felt very bad and started to cry. "I'm sorry, Doctor. I was wrong. They were going to kill me, but Silver saved me. I must stay here now." "No," said the doctor. "You can't stay here. One jump and you're out of the fort, and we can run." "I can't," I said. "Silver trusts me now. But if they hurt me, I will have to tell them where the ship is. Because I got the ship. It's in the north of the island, half on a Beach. "You've got the ship," said the doctor. I quickly told him my story. "You've saved our lives many times on this journey," said the doctor. He then turned to Silver. "It'll be dangerous to look for that treasure, Silver," he said. "Don't try to find it." "But I can only save my life and the boy's life if I find it," Silver replied. "Okay, then keep the boy close to you. If you need help, shout." "Goodbye, Jim," he said. And left the fort. "We can look for the treasure now, Jim," said Silver. "You stay close to me. We'll look after each other." Treasure Island, Chapter 12. Jim Hawkins. Silver went back to the pirates and said, "I've found out that the doctor's men have the ship. I don't know where it is, but when we find the treasure, we'll find the ship. That will give us the advantage. We'll keep Jim with us before then. When we go home, we can leave him on the island." The pirates looked happy with this news, but it worried me. What was Silver really planning? When he found the treasure, was he going to help Dr. Livesey and Mr. Trelawney or these terrible pirates? I did not know. We all left the fort. The pirates were carrying supplies, spades and their weapons. We then got into the small boats and looked at the map to see where we should go. We took the boats down a river, then we left them and walked through some tall trees. The pirates attached me to Silver with a rope so that I could not escape, and we walked up a hill. We walked for many hours. It was very hot, but this side of the island was very beautiful, with many flowers and birds. Then we heard a shout. Morgan was looking at something with a frightened face. It was the skeleton of a man lying on the ground. "The skeleton is pointing north," said Morgan. "He is," said Silver. "I think this was one of Flint's games. He killed the man and put him there." "Flint was a terrible man," said Morgan. The pirates looked worried, and when we continued, they were much quieter. Suddenly, we heard a voice singing from the trees in front of us. "That sounds like Flint," said George. "Flint's dead," said Silver. "It is someone playing a trick." Then the voice called out, "McGraw, bring me a drink, please." "That was what Flint said, just before he died," said Morgan. Now the pirates all looked very frightened. "Listen, men," said Silver. "There's a lot of treasure near here. I don't think that was Flint. I think it was Ben Gunn. I thought he was dead, too, but I'm not frightened of him," said George. The pirates looked happier and continued walking, although Dick looked tired and ill. Soon we saw a very tall tree. The tree was on our map and we knew that we were now close to the treasure. I could see that all the pirates were excited. Silver, too, looked different. His eyes looked crazy and dangerous, and I thought he would do anything to go home safely with the treasure. The pirates all ran to the bottom of the tree. George was in front of them, but he suddenly stopped with a cry. "Look," he said. We saw what he was pointing at. Near the bottom of the tree there was a big hole in the ground. Someone had been there before us. The treasure was gone. The pirates said nothing, but I could see that Silver was already making a plan. "Take this, and be ready for trouble," he said quietly, and he gave me a gun. Then the pirates all jumped into the hole and started digging with their spades. Perhaps there was treasure still there. Morgan found a gold coin and held it up for the others to see. "One coin? You told us there was 700,000 pounds here, Silver," shouted George angrily. "You knew about this, didn't you?" The pirates looked very angry. They climbed out of the other side of the hole, looking dirty and hot. "Let's get them, men," said George. Suddenly, there was the sound of guns from the trees. 2 of the pirates fell down, and the other 3 started to run. We were safe. Dr. Livesey, Gray and Ben Gunn came out from the trees. "Thank you, Doctor," said Silver. "You saved us. And look, it's Ben Gunn." Ben Gunn said hello to Silver, but I could see that he was frightened of him. As we walked back to the boats, we heard how Ben Gunn had helped us. Ben Gunn had dug up the treasure and put it in a cave in the north of the island before we arrived on the Hispaniola. Ben Gunn told all of this to Dr. Livesey, when the doctor gave him some cheese. The doctor then thought of a plan. He gave the map to Silver because he knew it was useless. Then he took his friends up to the cave, where Ben Gunn had supplies as well as the treasure. When he knew that Silver was taking me and the men to look for the treasure, the doctor came back with Ben Gunn and Gray. To slow the pirates down, Ben Gunn sang a song to frighten them. This had given the others time to wait for the pirates by the hole. After a few hours, we reached the coast again. Ben Gunn helped Gray to destroy one of the boats so that the other pirates could not use it. We took the other boat around the island. After 3 miles, I was surprised to see the Hispaniola. The wind had blown it from the beach and it was sailing empty on the sea. We helped Gray to get onto the ship so that he could look after it, and we continued to the beach. We then climbed the hill to Ben Gunn's cave, where Trelawney was looking after Captain Smollett. "Silver," Trelawney said when he saw him. "You are a pirate and a thief, but the doctor says that you have helped us. I must thank you." Silver said nothing, but he smiled. Inside the big cave, Captain Smollett was lying by a fire. Behind him, I could see lots of coins and gold. It was Flint's treasure. The next morning, we began to take the treasure down the hill to the boat. It was heavy work, and it took us days to move all the coins and gold. We knew there were still 3 pirates on the island. We looked for them all the time, but we did not see them again. We decided to leave the island without them, but we left some food and medicine. It was a difficult journey back on the Hispaniola because the crew was so small. Captain Smollett lay on his bed and told us what to do. After a few days, we reached a town in South America, where we went to find more people for our crew. When we Returned to the Hispaniola later that day, Ben Gunn told us that Silver had taken a boat and some money. He was gone, but nobody was sad about that. With a bigger crew, it was easier to return to Bristol. The treasure helped us all back. In England, Captain Smollett stopped working and Gray decided to buy his own ship. Ben Gunn quickly spent all of his money. I have a comfortable life now. I often think about the island and Long John Silver. But I never saw him again. www.facebook.com/ptask1 www.youtube.com/channel/ucccccwyo3bl1a5a tikajvcog twitter.com/amadzelimkod www.instagram.com/amadzelimkod www.facebook.com/a7medzelimkotb www.ptask1.blogspot.com The Moan Book Series.blogspot.com